This is lesson 4.4, applications for Unit 4 in Algebra 1. The goal for this lesson is I can use inequalities to represent and solve real-world problems. So we're going to write some inequalities and then figure out what values the story problem's looking for, right? So here's just some language that you need to understand because you're going to read sentences in English and hopefully you're able to transcribe it into mathematics. So you already know that equal sign is equal to, so is the key word there, is equal to. For less than, greater than, so you need to understand that there's a difference between is greater than and just greater than. Greater than is just plus, and less than is just minus. But when you put the word is with it, now it's a comparison operator. It's, these are all comparisons, greater than, equal to, less than, so on and so forth. So with the word is, now we're telling you that that's the comparison symbol that you're putting in place of that, okay? So you can look at some of those other ones like is fewer than and under or at least or no less than. So so on and so forth on those things, all right? So you're going to see that language and we're going to need to write the appropriate symbol in our inequality. So here's example 1. A shipping container will be used to transport several 100-kilogram crates across the country by rail. The greatest weight that can be loaded into the container, here's the greatest weight that can be loaded into a container, is 24,500 pounds. Other shipments weighing 9,100 kilograms have already been loaded into the container. Write an inequality representing C, the total number of 100-kilogram crates that can be loaded into the shipping container. Well, when the story begins, so I guess we need to figure out first is, so how many crates can we load in there without exceeding the weight, right? So the greatest weight. So what does that mean about the weight of this thing? So it's got to be, what's the tipping point here? At what point have we loaded way too much into the shipping container, right? So I think this is the weight that we can't exceed. Okay, so 24,500 pounds has to be the greatest weight we can load in. So that means, can we have stuff more than that? Or we can have stuff that weighs less than that? Well, hopefully you're thinking that it weighs less, so I need a less than sign here. Is it okay if I put in enough containers to weigh exactly 24,500 pounds? So is that included in greatest weight? Well, I think it is, so we're going to put equal to with that, okay? Because greatest does include that as well. All right, now what makes up the weight? Well, several 100-kilogram crates. We don't know how many. Okay, well, there are C crates. That's what we're looking for here. But there's already some shipments weighing 9,100 pounds on the boat. So I already have 9,100 pounds of weight, or excuse me, kilograms of weight in the boat. And so I can add 100 of the C's. Okay, so each C weighs 100 pounds. So I can add 100-kilogram C's some number of times, right? And C is the number of times or the number of crates that I can load in there. So there's my inequality right there, okay? So I found the maximum, the greatest weight in this case. That's what we were going to set our expression less than or equal to or greater than or equal to. And then our expression was the amount of weight on the ship, which started at 9,100 kilograms. That's where this number came from. And then we're adding crates. We don't know how many we're going to add, but every time we add a crate, it goes up by 100. So plus 100 for every C. So now I'm just going to solve this. I'm going to subtract 9,100. And so that's going to be 0, 0, 4, 24, 15. 15,400 divided by 100 means the zeros just cancel, giving me 154. And so I can load at most 154 more crates. That's it. So 154 or less. Okay. Let's look at the next one here. A rental car company charges $77.48 per day to rent a car and 10 cents for every mile. Okay. Henry wants to rent a car knowing that he plans to drive 250 miles and he has at most $460 to spend. Okay. He's going to drive 250 miles and he has at most $460 to spend. So what is that we don't know about? We don't know the number of days. It's like the company's going to charge us $77.48 per day and rent a car that's 10 cents for every mile. We know the miles. 250. Okay? We don't know the days. D. But we know that he has at most $460 to spend. So at most, does that mean I can spend more than $460 or less than $460? Well, hopefully you realize that you can spend less than something at most. Now, can you spend exactly $460? Yeah, at most includes $460 as well. Okay. Now, how do you calculate how much you're going to be charged? Well, you're charged $77.48 for every day plus 10 cents, and you already know, though, how many miles you're driving for each of your 250 miles. Okay? So there's our equation. I'm going to go ahead and multiply the 10 cents times 250. That's 25. And then I'm going to solve my equation. Subtract 25. So I get 460 minus 25. And so that's 435. That's an expensive car, $77.48 every day. Now I divide by 77.48. And it tells me that I can rent the car for 5.6. Whoops. I put my numbers on the wrong side, class. Sorry about that. So my days has to be less than or equal to 5.6. Well, can you rent a car for 0.6 days? No. So then really you can rent the car for 5 days or less. Okay? Nayeli has a points card for a movie theater. She receives 40 reward points just for signing up. She earns 14.5 points for each visit to the theater. So this is per visit. So that's probably good to know. So this is points per visit. This is just plain old 40 for signing up. She needs at least 185 points. Well, that sounds like our boundary value. At least. Is at least 185? Is at least 185? Yes. Do I want values that are more than 185? Like, is 190 at least 185? Yeah, it's more than 185. So that's what we're looking for. So we want values that are greater than or equal to 185. Okay, you're not going to get a free movie ticket if you don't get to 185. You got to have 185 or more. So that means the way we calculate your points has to be greater than or equal to 185. That's our boundary. So we know she gets 40 points just for signing up. And then she's going to get 14.5 points for every visit to the theater. Okay? So, subtract 40. 14.5. V is less than or, greater than or equal to 145. And I'm going to take 145 and divide it by 14.5. And I get 10. Oh, that's nice. V is greater than or equal to 10. She needs to make at least 10 visits or more. Okay? A group of friends wants to go to the amusement park. They have no more than $465 to spend. That sounds like the boundary. 465, no more than. Is that greater than 465 or less than 465? Well, that's greater, that's less than, right? but no more than, could it be that they have 465? Yeah, but it can be more than that. It can be 466, all right? And now, what do they spend money on? This is what they have to spend, and they spend $12.50 on parking, and then $33 per person to enter in. Write an inequality that can be used to determine P, the maximum number of people who can go into the amusement park. Did we answer that last question? Oh, so for this one, we just need to say 10 visits, right? Maximum number of days, we talked about that one, 5 days, yeah, okay. Make sure you're answering the question, I guess, is the key here. So we just need to know the number of people that can go. So we're going to subtract 1250. That's 33p is less than or equal to 452.50. We're going to divide by $33 a piece, and p is less than or equal to 13.7. Now, can you have 0.7 people? No. So what's the maximum number of people you can send? The max you can send to the park is 13 without spending more than $465. Okay? A rental car company charges $46.75 per day. So there's per day. And 13 cents for every mile. So that's 13 cents per mile. Oh, we know the miles. 100. She has at most $200 to spend. So Ximena wants to rent a car knowing that she plans to drive 100 miles. So we filled in the miles. She has at most 200 to spend. That's our breaking point right there. Write and solve inequality can be used to determine the number of days, okay, that Ximena can afford to rent while staying within her budget. So can she spend more than 200? No, less. Can she spend exactly 200? Yeah, 200 is at most 200. So how does she spend her money? She spends 46.75 each day plus, let's go ahead and multiply 13 times 100, and that's going to give me 13 cents times 100 is $13. Then I subtract that from 200. $46.75. D is less than or equal to 187 divided by 46.75 is, oh wow, D is less than or equal to 4. Okay. What's the number of days that she can rent while staying within her budget? She can rent for 4 days and spend exactly what she has. Okay? All right, you guys give DM44 a try.